All right, everybody, welcome again to the Ascendancy Arcade Chronicles podcast, your audio gateway to the world of gaming, entertainment, and everything in between. Join us as we delve into the latest game news, explore fascinating topics, and chat with special guests from the gaming community. Whether you're a casual player, a hardcore gamer, or just love everything geeky, this podcast is for you. Get ready to level up your listening experience with the Ascendancy Arcade Chronicles podcast. I'm your host, Chris, and tonight's special guest is TFULLGAMING. We had some tech issues, so we are re-recording this. Tiful, if you could tell everybody who you are, what you do, and what I guess what we're talking about tonight.
Oh, we got Metal Gear on deck, boys. I say boys, bros, because I'm a 90s kid. That's what I do. If you've caught my streams before, you know I say bro, and it's for everybody. Got Metal Gear. It's something that's near and dear to me, and near and dear to the arcade here as well. And we're just going to dive into it, have a good old Saturday chill session, talk about something that's really hits home, if you can't tell from all the Metal Gear stuff up here. We're just going to have some fun, kick it, and my community is a radical virtuality. That's just, we'd love to be rad and have good times and everything. So, yeah, that's pretty much who I am. Dad of three, I'm a veteran, and I love video games.
Can't beat that. I think you're gonna, a lot of us that can relate, especially since both of us are part of regiment. It's good to have a place where all of us vets can meet each other and find somebody with the same interest. I didn't even notice that before we were talking before all the tech issues, but the Metal Gear stuff up there, that's some of the stuff I do have, which I ran out of space. They're kind of in a bin right now, but I do have Solid Snake and I have the Genome Soldier. Unfortunately, my Genome Soldier, I gotta fix the exclamation point because it broke during the move. So I was like, damn it.
Yeah.
So I gotta redo that. I even noticed you got good old Dr. Disrespect up there.
Absolutely, my boy Doc.
Yep, I've got that as well. What's the one? Who's the other one?
Timmy.
Oh, that's Timmy?
Yeah.
I guess I should have recognized with the black tank top and the beard, I guess.
The Mrs. TFULLGAMING got the Funko yourself. That's me right there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering what that one was. Yeah. That's cool. I like that. I forgot you can do the personal customized one. As we were saying before, chat, that so for me, Metal Gear was a big part of my childhood. My uncle, who works for EA Games, he had bought it for me for one of my birthdays. And we were reminiscing about, back in the day where you had to have a memory card for, your games to save them. And my sister and I would grind through them without a memory card, and that was a grind for sure. We were asking T-Vol here. So you were saying your dad had something in his car, like a strategy guide or whatever, and that's where you first kind of was wondering about Metal Gear or games in general.
Oh yeah, I was what 8, 7 maybe.
Okay, you were
my
young.
dad used to drive race cars. He had like the big book. I was like this big.
Yeah.
And it had like all the pictures and all like the hints and tricks because that was before the internet and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So then I was looking through it. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. It was like a movie. Before I was young, I didn't know. And then I was like, okay. I was like begging him about like, what is this? He's like, oh, it's violent. You're not going to be interested in this, blah blah blah, right? Because I was 8, 7.
Right.
At the time, I had Nintendo 64. I was playing Mario, whatnot. And he was downstairs on our those big box TVs, the 720s, I think they were back then. The ones that were like 900 pounds. And he was playing it, and I was like, okay, get behind this. And it got so bad that my mom could literally know what part of the game we were on by just the dialogue, not even looking at it, what we were doing. Just that's how much we ran that back. That was it. The video games after that for me was a lot. I was like, this is fun. It doesn't matter what it is. So
yeah, to go way back, I feel like my first exposure to video game where I guess it changed and ruined my life was
in a good way.
Yeah, in a good way. My uncle had bought my dad the Nintendo NES for his birthday. And so that was my first exposure to the video games. And then he had pawned it and forgot to get it out of the pawn shop. And then we didn't see video games again until the late 90s when they got us the PlayStation 1. and the Nintendo 64. And then from there, it was, we tried to get every console we could get our
Oh,
hands on,
right, for sure.
I know and then, getting older and having a job and money myself, I grabbed every console I could get. So, um, it was pretty easy then. Um, so Metal Gear has got a huge history. So chat or anybody listening, if you're watching the VOD on YouTube, uh, the the history goes all the way back to the 80s. So anybody who's a fan of Metal Gear knows that uh, it was created by Hideo Kojima and Konami back in the 80s. In 1987, excuse me, was the first Metal Gear, and it wasn't even known as Metal Gear Solid. It was just known as Metal Gear. And they also called it, I think it was MSX2,
Yeah,
MSX2 or something like that.
it was called Solid Snake after that.
Yeah.
It was Metal
Um,
Gear, the Metal Gear Solid, or Snake's Revenge, or something like
yep.
that.
And it was later, the NES. And then they had a sequel which was Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake in 1990, and I think both games revolved mainly around Solid Snake and um Zanzibar, if you guys
Yeah.
know, the lore. And then we move from there, and I think the biggest one that probably T-Full and I can probably relate to the most, and like he has it on his shelf. I used to have it, something happened to it. But is the 1998 Metal Gear Solid that came out on PlayStation, where you get to play as Solid Snake and Shadow Moses, and my God, was that
First time in 3D, it was something.
it was something else. Is there any like special memories that you have from that game?
The whole thing, honestly, get my butt kicked by Ocelot and all that kind of stuff, because I don't want to spoil in case anybody does want to play later, which I recommend if you haven't, for sure.
Yeah.
Fun fact: first video game crush ever was in that game. Um,
Mural.
yeah, I don't know what it was, but I was just like 8-year-old T-Full. I was like,
Yeah. Ooh,
hello.
girl. Especially with the Easter egg that's in that game.
Yeah,
If you,
yeah, when you
yep.
get, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If
Just all the boss
I
fights,
feel
and
like we can spoil stuff because I mean that game came out in the 90s. If you haven't
I
played it by now.
I would agree, but I got people. I'm not. I know people like my brother's just now playing it for the very first
Oh,
time.
really? Okay.
Yeah, but yeah,
Okay, we'll hold
we
back
a
then,
little
just in
bit.
case
Yeah.
you haven't watched the podcast.
But yeah, the boss fights, the whole. It took me forever to figure out how to eat the key. I don't know why it took me so long to figure that
Oh,
out,
yeah.
but
It took just like the way that the keys had changed,
mm-hmm.
that you had to figure that out, and how
Oh
long you
yeah,
had to be in those areas. It's like, dang it, why hasn't this changed yet?
you're sitting there for a good 30 minutes. It felt like
And
it
I feel
really
like
took 2 minutes.
talking about stuff like that, like Hideo Kojima had, I swear he loved the troll, and in some things in that game there was some trolling stuff. There was a trolling thing with one of the bosses that you have to do with like your controller. Um there's just the fact that he made you run all the way back with the key cards to do that scenario and get those to change so you could get each one. I had forgot, what was it? Well, no, recently it wasn't so bad because of course the volume 1 collection came out and I had to buy it.
Right,
So I
right.
replayed through all of them. But
Mm.
I remember when I was younger, it took me forever to figure out what happened to it when you lose the key card and you had to
Oh yeah, right.
find it in that sewer section by Metal
Yeah.
Gear. So, for those who
Oh
haven't
yeah.
played it yet, good luck. It's
Right.
not as
There's a
hard
lot
as
of
it
twists and
seems,
turns. That's
but
yeah.
it can get you if you're not really thinking about it. It's more common
Mhm.
sense. But
Yeah.
so trying to think. So with Metal Gear 1, I'm trying to see if there was anything special out of that besides, the Easter egg stuff. I mean, obviously the story is amazing. I went
Oh, for sure.
I went back and I played the old 80 and the early 90s Metal Gear on from the old NES and stuff like that, but it just didn't have that same feel, and I think it's because of just the time, the era of these games. compared to Metal Gear Solid, with it, like you said, 3D and just the visuals and what Kojima did with cinematics and just the Metal Gear story. Yes, it can be weird, especially when you get into the later games. It can be
Right.
really weird. Uh,
Good way to
but
put it. Yeah,
but
for sure.
it's still good.
Oh
Um,
yeah, 10 out of 10 series. Definitely recommend. There's no
is
other series that has no bad game.
is there a boss fight you like the most out of Metal Gear?
And just one
Just
or in
and just
general?
the first one before we move on to the next ones.
Okay. Okay. Oh, I mean, you got the Hind fight.
The Hind fight is good.
That was a good one. I liked the Raven fight, the actual Raven battle. That was a
Yep.
good one. Pretty simple, but I'll take Gray Fox. I'll take that as like my favorite out of all of them.
Yeah.
Let's take the Gray Fox fight.
Gray Fox is
That's right.
definitely, yeah. I like Gray Fox. He's definitely up there. I think I'm with you because Raven, I really enjoyed Raven's fight. Um,
I loved him as a character. I don't know. They could have expanded. They could have given him a spinoff. I mean, because his whole story.
yeah, I wish there was more of him. Like you get him in
Mhm.
the tank and then you get him in the solo fight later on in the game. Um, in that frozen area, which is kind of tricky. It's like a freezer. But just yeah, he
Freeze the
was just.
key. There's a hint for everybody. Freeze the key.
I think now that I think about it is like yeah, the Gray Fox fight was really good because you're fighting this cyborg ninja, in this exoskeleton suit. There's some history between Snake and Gray Fox that you get to learn. But with Raven, I think I like it more because even though he was this big burly guy and he's running around trying to destroy you, but afterwards even after the tank fight and after the solo fight, he has so much respect for who
Hmm.
Solid Snake is, and he appreciates the fight and the challenge that Snake was for Raven, and I think that's why I like that fight the most out of all of them. If
Oh, I agree.
top three though, it would definitely have to be Ravens. The It would have to be Gray Fox, and then Sniper Wolf. I just like anything sniping, and
Okay.
so just the whole Sniper Wolf snipe battle was fun for me.
Now, which one? The first one or the second one?
I think the second one, only because you had limited space to hide and you're out in the snow.
Okay, that's fair. Did you cheese it? Did you use the Stinger missile, or did
N-
you actually snipe
Not
it?
when I originally not when I originally played the game as a kid. I didn't know you could do that. As I got older, I figured you could do that from just either reading it or watching it or something, and I'm like, oh, I've got to try that on my next playthrough. So,
Right.
so if you can get it done, yeah, use the missile.
Yeah, right. Makes the 20-minute fight like 5 minutes, if
Right.
that.
All right. Metal Gear Solid 1 was great. A lot of cool things that happen in game. I don't want to say too much about it because definitely, like people said, I don't want to expose or spoil it. But moving on, so we're in the 2000s, and 2001 comes around. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, drops
Mm,
on the PlayStation 2.
man.
I was okay. So this is how I feel about Metal Gear Solid 2, and I'm going to give you the floor. I was so excited to play Snake again. And I went through the tanker level, and then you start at the big shell, and you come up, and you're in this wetsuit. It's almost like a callback. It's a very cool callback to the original Metal Gear Solid with Snake coming in with the wetsuit and everything else. Uh, but you're not Snake. You're Raiden. And I was like,
Oh,
who is this guy? I
because we
was
all felt the same.
so upset because I wanted more Snake. What was your take on Metal Gear Solid 2, and did you have anything that you hated or liked from that game in the series?
Okay, well, I'm just gonna go with my initial thoughts because I grew to actually respect it a heck of a lot more as I got like story wise and everything. But when I was 2000, 2002 when that came out,
Yeah,
around there.
2001, I believe.
I loved it. The snake part was great. The plant part, I was pretty ticked. I was like, "Who is this blonde bang?" To quote our boy Doc here, "Blonde bang, chubby cheek." I was like, I don't want this guy. Give me Snake." I don't Raiden, but then you get older and you realize, and then your brain starts working. You're like, "Wait a minute, this is literally just Raiden Shadows Moses," and it just completely opens the game completely up.
Yeah.
Um, Absolutely hated the underwater part. Kind of might have been a spoiler there for if anybody hasn't played it. Again, recommend it if you do. Get the Substance version. It's got more features.
Yep.
But the boss fights were great. Graphically for the time, it was pushing the limits, and then there were some cameos and stuff from the first one. Again, that was another solid one where I was like, I played that game so many times, and the whole shakedown system that was also invented in that, ahead of its time. It was just that was one of those. It was like it was a bang bang. It was like one was great, two was great, and I was like, I can't wait to see. Let's keep this going because it was a good trend.
Yeah, Kojima was on a roll. Like,
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid was good. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty was great. I mean, yeah, initially you're gonna have that shock with a new character being
Mhm.
brought in, but then as you play it more and play through it multiple times, and then depending on when you start, like for us, we started when we were younger, and I was like, yeah, I had the same feeling. Like, who is this guy? Why am I
Right.
playing him? I want Snake. What is going on? What's Kojima doing
Right.
to us? Um, but as you play through it, you start to get attached to Raiden, and then you understand his story with him and Rose, and what's his play into this whole part between Solid Snake and the rest of the crew. Um, and this whole new enemy faction that's like the old Foxhound. You have this
Right.
whole new crew with Fortune and what
Bam and Fat
Fat
Man
Man was
and
my favorite. Laugh and grow fat.
Laugh and grow fat. Let's move.
And he's in a bomber suit. He's on
yeah,
rollerblades.
right.
This guy is something else.
He's zipping. He is just going.
Yep. He and talking about favorite boss fights earlier, he's probably one of my favorite boss fight in Sons of Liberty. just
Okay, I can
just
see that.
because of that whole experience. But you're right, and to jump back a little bit, you said if you guys buy the game, make sure you buy the Substance version, or I think they included the Substance versions in the volume, didn't they?
I think so. I haven't picked up the Legacy collection. I have the Legacy that was for the PS3, the new one, the PS5 one that came out,
Okay.
or Steam and all that. I haven't picked it up. My brother has it. That's why we played the first one.
Okay.
But I think so. I think Substance is what they included. Also, jumping a little ahead, Subsistence I think is also in that one as well.
Yeah, that's what
I
I was trying
think.
to remember. I mean, I bought it. I played through it so fast, I wasn't paying attention if it had the extra content in it. I
Yeah.
want to say it does.
Oh,
Excuse
you
me,
didn't tear
but
it up as Snake on the skateboard? Come on now.
that's what I'm saying. Like, it has so many different features, and they added a bunch of stuff. They even added Snake on a skateboard. So
Yeah.
if you like,
Definitely check it out if
yeah,
you haven't.
if you
So
like Metal Gear and you like Tony Hawk's, you'll like Snake on a
perfect. Those
skateboard.
two. It's a collab you didn't know you needed.
Right.
That's
Exactly. Um. Yeah, and I also wanted to comment on the underwater part for Sons of Liberty. Hated it.
Mm,
Not
yeah.
not a
Even
fan.
today, I was like,
Yeah.
that was one of those.
We could
That
have done
was
without that section.
yeah, absolutely.
uh because I'm trying to think. Yeah, because you have to go through it and then you have to come back through it with another
Hmm.
character. And it's
Yep.
just like, oh, why are we doing this?
This is also one I kind of want to keep quieter on because this one's a little newer,
Yeah.
but I don't know if people played MGS2. That's another one I don't think. Excuse me. A lot of people. If you haven't played the first one, I highly doubt you played the second one. I know a lot of people played three just because of all the hype against the internet on everything, but
Well,
two for sure.
especially more recently too with Metal Gear Delta coming out,
Oh yeah, yep.
which I hope it's later this year. Hopefully,
Same.
we'll find out more soon. But with the hype of the remake, I think a lot of people have already gone back and played 3 Snake Eater.
Right. Yeah.
So, but yes, Sons of so the first 2 are definitely, you've got to play them again. Like if you haven't played any of the games yet, chat, or anybody's watching the VOD, they have a volume out now that has Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 3. It
Yep.
also has the old Metal Gears from the 80s, from 87 and 90. If you want to like dabble in those, it's the old NES games. They're definitely different.
That's putting it politely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It was a good it was a good first attempt at it, but yeah, it
yeah,
was.
definitely not what it turned out or turned into
Oh
later
no,
on.
not yeah.
Um, Now, so we're jumping from 2001 with Sons of Liberty, where Snake and Raiden first meet up, and they're going through, the Big Shell and dealing with a whole new crew of enemies and a new brother, I guess we can say, to
Yeah.
Snake. But I'll go as far as there for those who haven't played it yet. We
The
don't.
twists and turns in that one are so good. It's just that's where the twists start coming in, and the series continues on with them. But the
Yeah,
2 was what started it, and it was just buckle in. That's all I gotta say.
yeah,
Buckle in. It gets a
buckle.
little wild after that. So.
um So we wait 3 years. So from 2001 to 2004, and in 2004 we get Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes, which was a Metal Gear Solid like remake of the original, um, with the elements of Sons of Liberty. So for those who have played it, you kind of understand what we're saying. For those who haven't, what they pretty much did was remade the first one after coming out with Sons of Liberty and kind of gave it that Sons of Liberty feel with the graphics. I I heard mixed things about this. I never owned a GameCube. That's one system I never had. Same with a Dreamcast. Never owned those.
Okay,
Um,
never had a Dreamcast either, but I had the GameCube. Yeah,
did you play Twin Snakes?
I loved it.
Did you love?
Yeah, yeah.
So
I did not step on you, but yeah, it was. I would recommend it as well.
okay,
What people get upset about it is because they try to change too much, try to make it too Hollywood. They try to go like the Matrix approach with it, like the over the action, over the top scenes, and like the purest. And I say that in quotes because I don't know what else to put it as. The Metal Gear Solid 1, like that's the best one. Don't touch it. Twin Snakes did it justice. I could they have done better? Absolutely, but the addition of the mechanics that were in Metal Gear Solid 2, excuse me, definitely added and elevated it. But the voice acting kind of fell short. So it was kind of like some stuff was great, some stuff was like, eh. So, but I'd recommend it, yeah, for sure.
did they again, because I haven't played, so Twin Snakes, did they use the same voice lines or voice actors from the first one?
They did, but I think they re-recorded the lines. They
Oh,
sound
okay.
different. They're the same people.
Yeah,
Like David
just
Hayter's our voice Solid
re-recorded.
Snake, and Liquid's voice actor is, I'm drawing a blank. I can see his face. He's there.
Okay.
Same guy. Just they sound, I guess, obviously older, or they tried to VFX it or something, but same line, same dialogue for the most part. But it's just they sound a little off. So I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah, because I wasn't sure of what they did about the lines, but I did know, and again, to touch on the Sons of Liberty aspect, not only the graphics was updated, but I think they even added some features that was in Sons of Liberty, like going in first person.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they put that in there as well.
That was really cool because, like in the first one, you have points where you're like, "Hey, I'd love to go first person, like surveillance cameras to see where those are." Right? Being able to go first person and be like, "Oh, it's up in that corner. Oh, it's over here." Instead of relying on your radar or whatever, like the little cones, you can actually see which way it's moving, and that was really cool because you'd never seen Shadow Moses in that light, and it was well done. Uh,
yep.
Graphically, it set it up. It was nuts. for the time, obviously. But
Yeah, for the time. Well, and then like, you know, talking about the first person, like you were saying, like back in Metal Gear Solid, you could look through the eyes of Snake, but you couldn't aim with your weapon. You couldn't shoot in first person or
right,
anything like that. It was more of just a viewing purpose of trying to see what's around you, I guess.
right. In the first one,
Yeah,
in the
and
second one, they added that mechanic. Yeah,
yep, exactly. Um, talking about 2004 and Twin Snakes, that came out along with like in the same year. Snake Eater came out in the same year. Both came out 2004, which
did
I
they
don't.
really? 2000. Okay, I didn't
Yeah,
realize they were both in the same year.
yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I'd have to look up the month to see like when those two like how far apart, because I feel like that's such a weird thing to do, to have both games come out in the same year and
Right.
not like conflict with each other.
If I
Um,
remember right, they're made by two different studios, correct? Like I think
I think you're correct on
Nintendo
that.
hired their own weird. I say that no disrespect, but somebody that has never touched a Metal Gear game before. They hired them to take care of that remake, and then the original Kojima, I can't speak right now, Konami and all them, they took care of MGS3, like as your normal producers. Kojima, there we go. I don't know why I can't. Yeah, the GameCube was completely somebody not in that team, if I remember right.
Yeah, so Snake Eater came out in November of that year. Uh, Twin Snakes came out in March that year. So there definitely was some gap there, month wise.
Yeah, right.
Um, obviously, both designers. I mean, it says Kojima was on both of them. Developers. Silicon Knights was in charge of
That's
uh the GameCube, the Twin Snake.
okay.
Um,
I knew there was something night. I couldn't remember exactly what
the
it
Snake
was.
Eater. Yeah, it doesn't say developers, and I think that's because it was under Konami, excuse me, which was the original, I mean, team anyways for Snake Eater.
Right.
So yeah, Silicon Knights was the one for Twin Snakes.
Yeah, just to kind of like put it in perspective. So MGS1, the Gray Fox fight, it felt really gritty. Like even the walk up to that fight, that scene terrified me as a kid. You know, when they get slashed and everything.
It looks like they were cut by some type of blade.
But then when you go to the GameCube, yeah, it looked better on the eyes and everything, but it didn't have that grit, the darkness. It was him like, oh my gosh, I've been cut with a blade. Like it was like, okay, they got sliced up, no big deal. I mean, there was still blood and all that good stuff, but it wasn't like an it factor. I don't know if it was a thing of the time when PS1 was just darker and grittier looking, but that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, it definitely has that grain look to it, and like you said, maybe because it's the time and the era, what it was on. Yeah, the PS1 style textures, and then Twin Snakes, it's updated. Probably, the polish maybe made it look weird. I mean, I thought just from the images and the videos I've seen of Twin Snakes, because again, I haven't played it. It looked weird to me because to me it felt like it was rushed, and I don't. And the other thing that was weird is like why did they do it on the GameCube?
That's the $1,000,000 question right there.
And
because
because it didn't come out on any other platform,
no,
just GameCube.
yeah, yep,
So I don't know. Maybe they were just
yeah,
a bunch of fans and they worked out a deal and it was like, hey, we'd like to remake this and have it over on GameCube for those who
yeah. I
haven't
mean,
played it.
because
But
technically, I mean, um, the first two Metal Gear was a Nintendo product, right?
mhm,
NES, Nintendo, yeah.
yep.
So I don't know, maybe they were trying to like do a little throwback, like, oh, we'll bring it back to Nintendo to give it that little feel, I guess. guess as good as mine on that, but it was one of those decisions where I was like, everything else has been Sony, 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 and then Nintendo, and then it just continued on with Sony after that. So
Yeah. Yeah, because it never happened again. As we move on, it's mainly Sony, Sony Portable, and then eventually it comes on Xbox
yeah,
with Metal Gear Rising. Uh, but we don't get too far ahead, so we're still in
right.
2004.
Yeah, we got a little ways to go, but
Oh
we'll get
yeah,
there. We'll get there.
got a
I love
long
this
history here.
series. I could sit here all night, man. So
So Snake Eater is a prequel for those who haven't played, and it jumps back, and you actually don't play. And a lot of people get this confusion, and those that don't know the lore or the story, and it's because the way that Kojima had done it, he made Solid Snake and Big Boss look the same. But there's a reason behind that, and you learn that in the story of Metal Gear Solid, the first one on um, how Solid Snake and Liquid Snake was created, along with the rest of the genome soldiers. And
remember those twists I told you about, guys? Buckle in.
yeah, it's a crazy crazy twist. Got to pay attention when you're playing the game. Again, it's a very very good story. Yes, it can be weird at times, but it does have some good lore
It's
to it.
worth it. Promise. I promise.
But so you don't play Solid Snake. Everybody wants to say Solid Snake, but you play as Naked Snake was his code name, and it's actually Big Boss during the Cold War, and you take place in a Soviet jungle, and man, I love Snake Eater.
Yeah, it's
The pain, the
definitely.
fear, all those guys. The end.
Oh yeah, the sorrow, that
Yep.
little whole thing about that. Whew. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the environment. And man, I remember. So when we talked about it earlier, this might have been when we were having I was having tech issues.
Oh.
G4 Tech TV. I used to watch them. They were big way
Yeah.
before IGN was. So those that know G4 Tech TV, you know what I'm talking about. With Adam and I can't remember the girl's name, but
Oh, I can see her face. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't know her name either.
Snake Eater. They were showcasing one episode, and it had showing all the stuff about Metal Gear Solid 3, and I could not wait. I was so excited. But one of the features that they added in 3 was the camo, where you could put on a certain camo, and up in, I believe it was the upper right corner, it would show your percentage on how well you were camouflaged. And that percentage would vary. And if you were at 100%, which you could get in the game, it was possible, the enemy could not see you.
Right.
If you stayed still, obviously. Now, obviously, you moved, that percentage varied and it would drop. But that is one of the features that really stood out to me for Snake Eater. Besides, obviously, the crazy villains, the bosses you had to fight in that game. Of course, they added the healing feature, the eating aspect. They really brought the survival aspect to that game. Is there anything you want to elaborate on?
Oh, you hit the nail on the head. So we talked how MGS2 jumped with MGS1, the jump to MGS2 was huge.
Right.
The jump from MGS2 to MGS3 was like you strapped a rocket ship onto your back. It just the stamina, they had the stamina, the camo index, the bone, like the features of the injuries and the multitude of like all the people you can call and the boss fights. It was just, like I said, it was getting higher, 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 and then just all of a sudden it took off. It just it was amazing. Like even that one has little cameos. That actually has history involved. Like they threw the news snippets and stuff in there, which I know that's why that got delisted for a while because the copyright or something along those lines.
Yep.
Hit them with that, but and how big it was. I mean, 2 was big. MGS1 was a good size. 2 even bigger. 3 it was like a huge area that you had to work in and operate. Like covered so much area, so much different terrain, and it was insane.
Yeah, 3 definitely had like just the overall um level design was great. Um they added, you know, it was during the Cold War, so you had these, Soviet soldiers, and they even had dogs in that game, if I can
Yep,
remember.
sure did.
Um, and then you had the environment to worry about. You had snakes and a bunch of other stuff that you had to consider. Again, that's where like that survival aspect, comes into play,
Hmm.
and there was more that the player had to worry about than getting caught and
Right, right,
and
right.
setting off the alert. You had to worry about feeding yourself. You had to worry about taking care of
Because
yourself.
it
Stuff was
even like the feeding, like I know people put that like stamina bar, it doesn't really do much.
right.
It visually affect like you were aiming down your sights or whatever. Your hands would start shaking if they were a little, even just like a little too, like you were halfway through on your stamina bar. Even then, you're seeing it. You didn't have to be completely empty. So like it progressed, and it was crazy. It just for that time as well, there was nothing like it. It
Yeah,
just
it
it
definitely
wasn't.
affected you if Snake, if you hadn't been fed. I guess there's no other better way to put it.
Right,
If you didn't eat at all during the
right.
game, then yeah, your stamina and everything else taking a hit. Um, the The last thing
The
I'll say,
boss.
probably a snake eater, is Big Boss, or yeah, Big Boss, and how do I want to say it? I don't want to.
Are we talking about the final fight, or are we talking about how the title gets earned? Is that what we're trying to get at?
Yeah, because that's the thing is like you have Naked Snake, and he's known as Big Boss, but he doesn't become Big Boss until later on, and that's
Right,
because
right.
of the Big Boss you fight, who,
If you earn the title
yeah, you earn the
because of this
title
big
after
boss
fighting
fight.
your pretty much your mentor, your instructor. Um,
It's a huge climax, apex, climax. I think it's
Yeah,
one of those
yeah,
words.
probably climax
It's
maybe.
huge.
Yeah. It's very interesting. It's very well known within the Metal Gear community. It's one
Oh
of
yeah.
the favorite fights, I believe, out of the series. Just that moment between the two characters and what
Oh yeah,
happens,
because
it's so important.
ups the emotion as well. 'Cause, like I know I touched on too, like with Raiden, they tried to bring the emotion to like the rose and everything. 3 was just pure. You're going to feel what Snake feels, like the conversations on your codec, and then I think it's called a codec. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like
I
I
know
think it's a
LEO
codec
is his
all the way
codec,
through.
but
Yeah.
but the emotion, the conversation. There's silly stuff. There's deep stuff. There's the full spectrum of emotions. But it really,
Yep.
they want you to feel like you're in his shoes when you're going through it, and
Right.
that's insane because you're not just like some random protagonist and they don't care what happens. They want you invested, and that's nuts. You can see that about the whole series, honestly. But
Yeah, and the thing is too, like a lot of people like to rush through things, but if you like really enjoy the game, I recommend just taking it all in, even the codec conversation, because some of those
especially for the
are
first
great.
time.
Yeah, especially for the first playthrough. There's a lot of information there, and then some of them can be really funny too. Uh, you know, through a lot of them, especially the older ones, going back and you call up people and you can just annoy the crap out of them, and they'll say different things. It was great, especially between Snake and Otacon. So
Oh yeah.
gotta love
You
Otacon.
call Mei not to save enough times, she gets mad at you and stops talking.
Right. We're gonna jump ahead. 2006 and then 2008. 2006, Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops came out. This was a direct sequel to Snake Eater, so they went from Snake Eater on a console to the PlayStation Portable. Um, and this game focused pretty much on Big Boss's attempt to the rebellion in Southern America.
Right.
Um, I don't remember too much about Portable Ops. If you've got anything to add on this, you're more welcome to jump in.
It was good. I played it. I didn't beat it. I'm not gonna lie to you. As a Metal Gear fan, you should beat them all if you're
Yeah,
true diehard, whatever. But I never did.
I have that with
It was
a few of them, which I don't. It's not on this list for some reason. Um, then I created. I guess I forgot about them, but like Portable Ops, I didn't complete. And yeah, as a diehard like Metal Gear fan, you think you'd complete all the way through, but I think it maybe because it was on a handheld, I lost interest. Um, because
about Acid. Are those the other ones?
Portable Ops, Peace Walker, Acid 1 and 2, all those were on the PlayStation Portable or the was it the PS
Vita.
yeah, the PS
Yeah.
Vita? Yeah.
Yep.
And
It
the thing
was.
is like I loved Acid
What do you mean by that?
because
yeah.
because of the well, pause. That was weird phrasing.
Right.
I love Metal
Chat
Gear
clip
Solid.
that. You heard it here first, guys.
Yep.
Come on now.
Love Acid. Metal Gear Acid, they added a card feature to the game. And I thought it was a really cool take.
Oh, it was.
And then the story was told through this like digital novel kind of cutscenes. You know, same thing with I think Peace Walker was the same way.
Yeah.
All the cutscenes were like this digital novel like aspect. But
yeah, no voice actors or anything. Yeah, it was
right, yeah.
yeah.
They're willing to give us an offshore plant, a place we can finally put down some roots. This is our chance to expand MSF.
We don't need a place to stay, guys. We're nomads. We always will be.
Exactly. And but yeah, for some reason all those I pick them up and play them here and there, but I never beat them. Was that like that for you for all of them, or just like a couple?
Well, I did kind of get cheated, I would say, because my PSP took a crap. They're halfway during its life cycle, so I couldn't finish them.
Ooh.
Acid 1 and 2, I loved them. They were so weird and unique. I say weird as a good moving the game, like trying new things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a cool mechanic, the whole card system and everything. That was fantastic. I loved it. Never got through them because like I said, like my PSP at that time, I didn't have the funds to go out and get a new one when it broke, and I was like, okay, whatever. And they were also not technically canon. That's beside the point. Uh, Peace Walker. I didn't play it on the PSP. I played it fast forward when it came to Xbox and that collection with that. I beat that one, but I didn't beat Portable Ops all the way through. And it was just strictly because at that time, when that come out, 2010.
Portable Ops.
Yeah, when that come out.
Portable Ops was 06. Peace Walker was 2010.
Okay, so
but they both.
I was in 6th grade. I was busy with sports and all that kind of stuff. I kind of, for a time there, I had to step away from games. So that's why, probably that one.
Make me feel old.
I'm a 93 model, so
I'm an 87 model. Wait, you said 06 you were playing sports? You were in
Yeah.
And that's when I joined the service, was in 06.
All right.
So there's the age gap, chat. Yeah, and the thing too, I think what was so weird about those was they started focusing on the not in Metal Gear Acid, but in Portable Ops and Peace Walker. And I feel like Portable Ops, that's all it was about, was this feature where you could attach the balloon.
Oh, the Fulton.
Yeah, to the characters and capture them to add them to your team.
Yeah.
Which later comes on in Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain. They brought that back. And I don't know if that's because of the era, because you're playing as Big Boss and all that other stuff, but that was interesting and a weird take.
Yeah, but I think on the PSP ones, those are all technically, I think Peace Walker is technically canon, I think. All those other ones they're not, if that matters to you watching this VOD or anything later. To me, it doesn't matter. If I see Metal Gear Solid, I'm picking it up, I'm reading it, I'm playing it, whatever.
Yep.
But if you're like one of those aficionados of like, oh, it's gotta be perfect and canon and everything, you can just forget about the PSP, because to my understanding, those are completely not story relevant. They're nice backstories and like side stories, but not
story complexity and there was some tech advancement in those games, but it was definitely something different. In between '06 and 2010, we kind of like got around it. 2008, Metal Gear Solid 4: Guns of Patriots came out on the PlayStation 3.
Okay, yeah.
Set in a war-torn future, it concludes Solid Snake's story as he confronts his clone brother, Liquid Ocelot. Yes, I said Liquid Ocelot, not Liquid Snake. So again, if you haven't,
guys, buckle in.
Yep,
Buckle in.
if you haven't played it, this is where the story. I think 4 is where it gets really weird. I mean, 3 Snake Eater had some weird aspects, especially with oh my god, I'm drawing a blank. What's the main villain's isn't it start with a V?
Volgan?
Yeah, Volgan, thank you.
Yeah. The Vulcan Raven clone.
Yeah, the whole electric like thing with him. But yes, chat, the Metal Gear Solid 4 game has some weird stuff in it.
That's putting it nicely, but they're all good though. It's
especially when it comes
weird.
And I kind of oops said spoiler there with the whole clone brother when I read that, but again, you guys will learn more about that as you play through. Yeah. The game was noted for advanced graphics and storyline, which I agree. They added a lot of new stuff in there, I think, or at least elaborated on it. The camo thing was back. Snake has a special suit that Otacon had given him that almost like a stealth camo kind of thing. It like transforms to anything of the environment around him compared to, so if you were to compare it with Snake Eater, you could find different camo outfits throughout the game, and Snake, you could put those on Snake and it would change the whole outfit as if he changed his clothes. Compared
best way to put it,
yeah, the best way to put it, compared to MGS4, you didn't do that. The suit would automatically transform to your environment, depending on how you. I think certain button you pressed, or just how you. I think you had to press a button for it to
triangle.
work.
Yeah, to press triangle. Yeah.
And there's even a funny part in the game where you get to touch one of the statues near the beginning of the game. To transform. If you haven't seen it, I may post that in the post edit. Because
there's some other, if you do
if you want to, if you guys are in here watching this now, you want to see the visuals of the stuff we're talking about, like I did with episode 1 with our last guest with Lion. If you guys hadn't seen that, make sure you guys go check that out at
absolutely
YouTube. Since same thing as Cincy Arcade. But in the post edit, I'll put a bunch of stuff up so you guys can visually see what we're talking about. But I may put that, at least a screenshot I may add of that. Right. But I was laughing when that had happened.
Oh, the first time you find out about it, you're like, wait, whoa, did this happen?
Yeah. Did that just happen? Did I just do that? Snake, do we need to have a talk?
Right. I think we do, bud. Come on now. Let's take a knee.
This is where things turn for me as a Metal Gear fan, because with MGS4, by now, if you love the series, you're connected to the character, especially Snake, because he is the main character. Besides Big Boss, obviously, going back and forth between the prequels and whatnot. He's old. Snake is old, and he's finding out that he's having issues with stuff, and he just can't perform like he used to. And man, it was yeah. It's just how life is, and
right.
Damn, was it hard?
Not that young gun anymore. But
no,
yeah,
dude, was it heart wrenching?
I cried. That's the one game.
I'd be lying if I said I didn't cry during MGS4.
Yep. That was the one. I've never cried about any other game, like Last of Us, all that other. Nope. MGS4. I was like, I'm not ugly crying, but I was like, come on now.
Just a tear or two, because I mean, this is a character that we got hooked to as a kid, for us when
absolutely
we were introduced, and we wanted more Snake, and I felt like, we kind of got Snake in 3, but it was technically Big Boss, and
right.
now all of a sudden we jump from 3 that was in 2004 to 2008, where we're going back in the future with Solid Snake, and he's all of a sudden old.
Right.
And it's like,
huge change up.
It's like, whoa, wait, what happened? What happened between Sons of Liberty in 2001, yeah, to now in the story? Like, all of a sudden Snake is old, he's having complications. Is he going to die? Is he going to make it? Like, what's going on? Because not to elaborate too much on it for those who haven't played, but there's a thing called Fox Die that's like a virus, I guess you could say, something that's injected but into them. But
play the first one, you'll find out, guys.
yeah, play the first one, you'll find out. But there's just so many different elements that plays into this, and again, I wasn't ready for it. I'm like, I don't want Snake to die yet. I want more Metal Gear, because when you, as a gamer, and you're hooked to a story like this, you're like, well, where are they going to go if they end this now? Is there going to be an MGS5? Is there going to be an MGS6? Right. Like, what do we do after this? Was there anything, like, besides, I know you said you had the same kind of reaction or experience, but was there anything else from Metal Gear Solid 4 that, like, really hit you or touched base, with you as a gamer and as a longtime fan?
As a longtime fan, it hurt seeing our boy like that. I'm saying the first one, where he was like 20 something, and here he's just like this old decrepit thing. It's really hard. It hurts because you're not jumping off of airplanes and crap anymore. You're literally crawling down a hallway. It's right. I know I might have said a little too much on that one, but play the game, and I do recommend it. The only thing I will say about this one that really kind of like got on my nerves was the cutscenes. Man, they were long. I've always been that guy, like, hey, watch them, especially the first time through. But these ones were like, I'm watching the Lord of the Rings movie. Like, what are we doing here? But
yeah, Kojima was doing that. Even with Sons of Liberty, the cutscenes were kind of lengthy, and the more you go, I think even with when we get to Metal Gear Solid 5, they were pretty long.
Oh yeah, they were great. They were well made and everything, but it was kind of like, am I watching a movie? Am I playing a game?
That's
kind of how I felt when I was playing it the first time. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and like, this is probably right around the time where, I mean, even though like Sons of Liberty and heck, even Snake Eater, they were long. I think as you go later on in the series, Kojima starts to become more of a director, more of a filmmaker, excuse me, than a game developer or a game director, because of the cutscenes. And he's always said he's had a passion for film, and even now, I think he announced just last year at the Game Awards or whatever, that his newest game that he's looking to pursue is going
to mix to Hollywood, and
is going to have a lot of film aspects about it, which is going to be interesting. I am interested that the fact that him and Sony are teaming up for some a new stealth espionage game in the future. I don't think it's going to be Metal Gear, but I think it's going to have the Metal Gear elements.
Yeah, he did. I saw an article. He said the only reason he's making this game is because people want so much more Metal Gear.
Yeah.
And that caught me hooked too. And that's not. I think it's different than like the movie one that he's making. I think.
Yeah, it's supposed to be its own. It's supposed to be its own separate thing, because the movie thing is supposed to be something completely different. I think it's supposed to go more towards a horror game route. I think. Yeah.
I won't touch it.
Yeah.
Horror, mean horror. Nope. Good.
Not my cup of tea. I mean, I don't mind playing like COD Zombies or something, but like,
yeah, that's about as far.
That's about as far as I go. I have a hard time with those horror games.
I didn't even touch Resident Evil back in the day, like on the PS1. I don't.
Well, yeah, Resident Evil I'll touch, but even then, it's kind of pushing.
Right.
Next we got in line is 2013. So from 2008, we have Metal Gear Solid 4. 2010, we go back in time with Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker. And then 2013, we have Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance. And this came out on the PS3 and Xbox 360. So this was the first Metal Gear game in the series that came out on the Xbox. besides the I'm trying to
Collections.
I don't have it in the list, but yeah, they did come out with the collection series, which you had mentioned earlier, which came out with, I think, it was Sons of Liberty, Snake Eater, and Peace Walker. I think was in the collection.
Yeah, I think so.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I want to say 2, 3, and Peace Walker was in that collection on the Xbox 360. But yeah, so Metal Gear Rising was a spin-off featuring Raiden, and it was done by Platinum Games, and it was strictly like a Ninja Gaiden hack and slash.
It was edgy. It was
It was
no pun
very
intended. It was
edgy.
edgy.
A lot of people loved the soundtrack to it.
Yeah.
I think people wanted this in a way because of who Raiden was in Metal Gear Solid 4, because it's a big jump from Sons of Liberty, who Raiden was then, and then what had happened to him, and how he looks in MGS4, which if you play,
That's fair.
you'll find out, and it makes sense. It was interesting. I played it. All the way through. I beat it once, never picked it up again.
Same.
Just because, again, I was not a huge fan of Raiden. You know, yeah, I grew to like him, but not enough to want to play a single player game of him over and over and over again. So, not much.
Good game, though.
It was a good game for a hack and slash. I mean, if you like Ninja Gaiden, Devil May Cry, pretty much any game like that, then I think you'd like Metal Gear Rising.
Yeah, anything where you want to get your fix of like the whole slashing and like that kind of.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's not too much to say on that, so I'm going to jump ahead to 2000.
Which was Gray Fox, but it was Raiden.
Yeah,
that's the only thing I got to throw in there.
That's what we should have. That's what we should have got. Like, we should have gotten a Gray Fox single player game. 2014, so a year later, we get Metal Gear Solid 5 Ground Zeroes on the PS3, PlayStation 4, Xbox 360, and the Xbox One. It was a prologue to the Phantom Pain, and boy, was it a teaser. It was very short, very small. I was excited to get it, and then realized, oh, this was nothing. It's just a prologue. It had a few, maybe 5 missions. It was not much at all.
I think all you had to do is get the guys out of the zone, if I remember.
Yeah, there was like a bunch of prisoners you had to rescue. There was
I think that was it after that.
There was a girl or something that's captive. You have to find that she's got something like a
I think it's Pax and Paz, if you played the ones we said previously. Yep. Peace Walker?
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I think that's who they were.
They had a bunch of like fun stuff in it that Kojima had put in there, which a lot of people, if you look on YouTube, and I'll post some clips in the post edit, but there's stuff that if you used, I think it was a certain type of UV lighting or flashlight in the game,
yep,
you could find the logos and stuff. And is it Kaz? I'm trying to remember.
Kaz, KZ. Yeah. I think it's Kaz.
Yeah,
I think
we'll call him K. K was talking to the big boss, and he'll say certain lines and stuff. And I think this was around the time where Konami and Kojima were no longer
splitting.
They were kind of like butting heads and splitting. And then Kojima did he get fired or he left the company? I can't remember. I don't want to say the wrong thing, but
I don't think it was fired. I think it was very hostile, and they split pretty ugly.
Yeah, it was not.
I don't think it was actually. I think it was a cut, but it was like, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home type of deal.
Yeah. So either way, it was a big falling out, and we definitely got to see it. I mean, even at one point, I think they removed his name.
Absolutely.
From the game.
I think they went back in time too on some of them.
Yeah.
And they took them out.
But yeah, for those who are looking to play Ground Zeroes, it's very quick. Not a lot to do in it. It's more of it's just a prologue to Metal Gear Solid 5. So if you want to experience everything, then I would say definitely play it. There may be a few things in there that may link into Metal Gear Solid 5, but I wouldn't say it's a must play unless you're just like a diehard fan like us,
Right.
where we touch everything.
If you buy Phantom Plane, you get the Game of the Year edition. It has so
Yeah, you get it in there with it.
don't buy them separately.
Yeah, and that was in 2021, which is what TFUL is talking about. That's MGS5 definitive. Holy crap,
Definitive?
words.
Yeah, words.
Experience that came out on the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC, and yeah, you can. I think it's available on the newer consoles now, but you could get it on ground. Excuse me, in the game you got Ground Zeroes and the Phantom Pain along with all the DLCs. That came
That's
out
true.
in 21. But back to 5. So yeah, so 14 Ground Zeroes came out. 2015 Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain came out on all 4 platforms: PS3, PS4, Xbox 360, Xbox One. Excuse me, a 5th platform. It did come out on PC.
Yep.
Let's see. This is where things really changed, because now we're no longer linear gameplay. We finally get an open world aspect for Metal Gear. It was set in Afghanistan and Africa. We go back to playing as Big Boss, kind of.
Do we?
Yeah, I'm gonna say that with question marks. With this being very, very recent,
Right.
I'm not going to say a damn thing. Definitely play it, because oh my, I was not ready for that twist.
Yeah.
I did not expect that at all.
No, absolutely not. Not even like, this is the moment where you need the whole harness. You don't need just a buckle. You need the full on.
And the thing is, like, I know some people have a certain order where they're like, okay, you've got to play all these games in a certain order so you understand the story. But I'm glad that we got to play them the way that they were made when they came out, because when 5 was dropped and you played all the way through and you got to see all the characters that they introduced, that a few of them were going to become important later on in the series, it's like, holy crap, this just wrapped it all up. Yep.
Nice little bow.
Yep. Nice.
Great.
I was just about to say, a nice little bow. We're on the same wavelength here. Now, talking about 5, I do have to say the one thing that pissed me off the most about this game was Kojima had put credits after each mission. It was like every mission was its own little tale, and it drove me mad.
That's fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Was there anything like, I mean, you say it's fair, so I'm guessing you're on the same page with me on that. Was there anything else that bothered you about 5, or was there something you liked about 5 the most?
I love the open world. I've always been thinking, hey, Metal Gear's got the perfect layout for it. Just do the missions how you want to do them, right? That was always something I thought was really cool. I don't like, and this isn't me trying to be PC or whatever, this is just my personal take. So we know Sniper Wolf and how she's dressed and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that they kind of went a little overboard with
Quiet.
Their Sniper Wolf counterpart, I'll just say, because I don't want to spoil too much. But to me, I was like, come on, guys. Like, I understand you want to, because some people out there, that's what they like, and hey, and not hating on it or whatever. For me, I was like, do we need this? Come on now.
But yeah, it was a little much for sure.
Yeah, especially if you got, like, if you did something a certain way and you didn't even know at the time you were doing it, like the cutscenes that would happen, you're just like, what am I watching here? I thought I was playing Metal Gear Solid, not Rain Simulator. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I love the game. Care about it. But I will touch on 5. They brought back Metal Gear Online 3, I think it was. I don't know if you ever played the Metal Gear Onlines. They were fantastic, and the world needs more of that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Metal Gear Solid 4 had online.
Yep. Sure did.
That
was the
was
first.
that was the first one, I
Technically,
think,
it was
right?
2. First one was Snake Eater, I think, but nobody played that because
Yeah,
online at that point was
you're right.
so
Hmm.
nobody knew.
Didn't they? And then 4 they had online, and then they bring it back at some point.
They did on 5.
Was it 5? Okay, that's why.
5 they brought because I was trying to play it recently on Steam, so I was like, hey, whatever.
Okay.
There is also little caveat. There's a save MGO. It's like a mod technically. You can play Metal Gear Online with other Metal Gear heads, and this is not an ad or anything, but check it out because it's fantastic, and I love that as an online series. But that's just me.
Yeah, I remember
So
seeing or hearing about that. Yeah, there's a way where you can still play it online.
yeah, and it's
Oh.
really easy. You just find them on Twitter. Save MGO. Good community. I really loved it in Metal Gear Online. It was something that if it was still active today, I would probably not touch a lot of stuff that I play today. So
Yeah.
just because it was a third person Metal Gear Solid universe shooter, and it was awesome. And then 5 really had a good for a while. They had like an ecosystem, like the shop and all that kind of stuff, and it was good. And then the fob aspect that they added, that was another. Not saying too much about it, but that was another feature that they added into 5 that was advancing towards more than just a story.
Yep. Now, I heard for the new Metal Gear coming out, they say maybe later this year, maybe next year. We don't know. We don't have a release date yet. But for Metal Gear Delta, I think there may be some online for it.
Man, don't give me hope. Don't do that to me. Don't give me
But
hope.
it's all talk through the grapevine
Of
from
course.
what I've heard, but we're not 100% sure on that yet. But that's it, chat. For those watching the VOD, I appreciate you guys coming out. That is everything Metal Gear. We have covered everything from 1987 Metal Gear to all the Metal Gear Solids through the 2000s to just recently. If you haven't played them, please go pick them up. Go give them a try.
Seriously.
You're gonna enjoy, if not the gameplay, but the story as well. And there was so much more we left out. If we had talked, we could be here another hour just talking about all the different bosses, different characters, more in-depth story. But I think we did good for paying respects for those who have not played it yet.
Tried our best.
Maybe we'll do a revisit. Go is definitely have TFUL back on here. After we'll probably have you on before. It all depends on when Delta releases, but after Delta comes out, I'm definitely going to want to have you back, so we can talk about our experiences with the game.
Absolutely,
and do that. So TFUL, I appreciate you coming out and spending this past hour or so with me, even with the technical difficulties.
Hey, you put up with me and my kids, man. So hey, I appreciate the invite.
Where tell us where everybody can I guess find you, all your socials and streaming and matter of fact, if you got a little bit of time.
Yeah, I've got nothing but time right now. My kids are down. I'm cool.
For the audience, I'd like to know what got you into streaming, kind of like what made you want to like start pushing content, and then to end it, just let everybody know where they can find you, and we'll go from.
Okay, sweet. What got me into streaming? Well, I was always like, I played games online on a computer before it, like when I was in the army and stuff. I always like recorded videos, like chopped them up, like highlights. Looking back on them, they weren't really highlights, but I thought they were. So then I was kind of like, okay, this is cool. And then I really didn't like make a YouTube channel or nothing like that, or Twitch. Twitch came way later. And I was like, okay, this could be fun. And then started watching Doc more and Timmy more, and I was like, okay, these guys are having fun with it. And I like meeting new people in gaming, sharing experiences. So why don't we see what happens? And then I deployed to Guantanamo Bay. Terrible place. 0 to 10. Don't recommend. I finally got back and I could build like my own PC, because before that I had like your pre-built basic. You couldn't really do much on it because at that time that's all I could afford.
Yep.
I used the deployment money to build a rig that you see here. in the corner there. And I was like, you know what, let's give streaming a shot. And that's when TFULLGAMING kind of happened. Everybody in high school called me TFULL. It's my first initial, and then like the first couple letters, my last name. And I just added gaming onto it because that's what I was doing. And then I made Twitter and found Regiment, and then started streaming. Met a lot of cool people. I do Chris here, met Lion, a whole bunch of like Street Owner, Static Shadow, just a whole bunch of cool people. And I was like, we're getting somewhere. And then it just slowly started building on, and I've fun with it the whole way. It was like I just kind of was like, I don't want to say I was emulating Doc. I was like, that was like my big guy. I was like, oh my gosh, Doc is so cool. But I don't want to be like a carbon copy of him. Same with Timmy. I was like, okay, let's just try our hand at it. And then we know it, we're sitting at 1,700 on Twitter, 56 on Twitch, and 380 on YouTube. So I'm doing something right because people are coming out and hanging out. I mean, I'm doing a podcast with some cool person I met on the internet talking about Metal Gear Solid. How better can that be? But
yeah,
kind
I
of the
mean,
whole thing.
you got to start somewhere, and like as
Right.
long as you know, you continue to be yourself. I tell everybody, you know, starting out, like I didn't think I was going to get the following I got on Twitch when I was known as One Angry Sergeant, and it was the help of meeting people through the regiment. It was just being yourself and just having fun playing video games and stuff. So yeah, I think, you know, people are you know, coming to you and watching you because you've got something that they can relate to and whatnot. That's really cool.
Hey, I'm just a data 3 man, veteran as well. I like games and I hang out. I treat everybody like, hey, we're cool until you give me a reason not to be cool. Like the whole treat how you people you want to be treated type of deal.
Yep.
But I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to game. That's what we're here for. Hang out, chill. You heard me say it earlier. We're just gonna vibe and kick it.
Yep.
And also, I end my streams with, hey, stay rad, everybody, because we're here to have a good time. You know what I mean? Like that's all we're here for. So, and
Yeah,
people seem to dig it.
and that's what you know, everybody's watching and watching this on YouTube and post is like the Ascendancy Arcade. Our motto is be kind and ascend, and to have this opportunity to give this platform for people like TFULLGAMING and last episode Lion, and we have a bunch more. I'm booked out till July, to do this every other weekend, to give the smaller voices a chance to talk not only about things that we share in common, but to put themselves out there. So I appreciate y'all that support us on the channel as we continue to do this. Again, I thank TFUL for coming out. Really had a blast talking Metal Gear Solid.
Oh,
We
a lot of
had
fun.
we had Halo on the line, but I don't want to go too much later.
We got too deep in the trenches,
Yeah,
man.
too deep. Real quick, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Twitch, TFULLGAMING, just straight up, no little underscore. The only one, let's start that over again. Twitch and YouTube are both just TFULLGAMING. On Twitter, I have to have like that little underscore, under dash, because for some reason they want to have that. But I stream on Twitch and YouTube. Mainly, I'm testing out to see which is like the better feedback, I guess. Both places are great. I also upload videos like shorts and stuff to YouTube. But yeah, TFULLGAMING. Real simple. Nothing fancy, no exclamation points, nothing like that. I'm always on Twitter, so if you ever want to reach out to me, like, hey, try to game, or you want to podcast like we're doing today, or anything like that, it's a good place to get a hold of me. I'm always on that. That's how we met. We started talking Metal Gear. I think it was the very first thing we talked about.
Yeah, that
Yep,
and the fact
TFULLGAMING.
we both were MPs.
Yeah, yep. Did my 8, and then I said, see ya.
Yeah. Well, again, I appreciate you, buddy, coming on. For everybody who is just joining in, sorry you're late. We're closing up shop, but I appreciate everybody who came out. If you want to catch the VOD, I will have it saved on Twitch. If you're not following me over on YouTube, it's the same thing, the Ascendancy Arcade over at youtube.com. And give me roughly a week and I'll have that post added up for you guys. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you guys like and subscribe if you haven't already. and we should be back at this again in about 2 weeks. Again, we're doing this every other weekend. Just give myself some time to edit and to make it all fancy for YouTube. Yeah, very time consuming, especially when you got a full-time job and you got a balanced life.
Oh yeah.
So thank you all again. I hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you soon.
Make sure you guys stay right out there, everybody. Catch you guys on the next one.
Later.